Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm talking today about this story that is absolutely insane. I could not believe it when I heard it. It's called The Danish Deception. And this young woman, this black woman in her mid-20s, her name is Onyeka. She drops this story on TikTok, 27 episodes, about like 10 minutes each, where she is at length and in depth talking about the relationship she had with her ex-husband, Martin, who is the person that the title refers to. And the deception is that he scammed her and her family and friends out of more than $300,000. There were so many things in this story that pissed me off. Like just common sense. Google is free. This happened over the last 3 years, from 2022 to 2025. And she just got divorced like 3 weeks ago. She didn't even give herself time to heal, to reflect, or anything like that. She just jumped onto the internet. And I think she really wanted to capitalize on this moment because her TikTok, it has blown up. It is everywhere. It is all over Threads. It's all over Facebook. It is all over X. But TikTok, they are eating this girl alive. And I feel awful for her because at the end of the day, she is the victim. I think she thought in dropping 27 episodes, and she did mention Risa Tisa in like one of the first videos, like first or second videos. She thought she was going to have her Risa Tisa moment, our good sis. But this is not that at all, not even close. Risa Tisa took accountability. That's the most important thing. And also Legion was still paying the bills and stuff. So, but with Onyeka and Martin, her ex-husband, the Danish man, there were so many red flags that just by having common sense and logic, this would not have continued for 3 years. So I wanted to summarize the story and then also give my reaction because I still cannot wrap my head around how this willingly essentially happened, because she allowed this to happen. And I think this is a cautionary tale as well. I don't want to blame her because she's a victim in this situation, and he's out here scamming women still to this day. I think he's in Tulum, and these, the social media, the TikTok sleuths are better than the FBI. So they're finding him, his pictures out there and all that stuff now. I hope charges get brought up against him. He needs to be behind bars. He is the one who emotionally manipulated her to get what he was going for. Her entire bank account, her entire checking, saving. This is a scheme Todd set up. Basically, his con starts with his emotional connection to Onyeka. So he basically traps her because while they're speaking, their first meeting and on DM, she's like, I love the Knicks, and he's like, me too, or I love this, and he's like, me too, and she is smitten by that. And even in her retelling in the story, she's smiling, she's smizing, she's very excited, it seems like, to retell this story. Mind you, it's one of the worst things that has happened in her life, or one of the worst things I've heard happen to anybody, period. Because I don't understand how you let any man financially drain you willingly. You handed him your checkbook, you handed him the credit card, and he was just like, okay. Essentially, he didn't really scam you. You gave him all this money. But the way he got her, because she is a victim, he emotionally tied himself to her so that she would be so emotionally invested in him and the relationship that she would say yes to anything. And that's the scam. And a lot of guys do it. Some do it emotionally, some do it with your time, some do it with your energy. In her situation, it has to do with her finances, which she had a lot of money. She got money. So much money. Because in the midst of all of this, she's getting financially drained by her ex-husband over the course of 3 years. She's still actively with him, traveling to other countries just for fun, like just to kind of alleviate their sadness and their woes about the finances that they have. And I wrote everything down. Like, she went to 20, I counted 20 countries. She is a successful, book smart woman, but she is not street smart. And that is a big reason why I think she got taken advantage of. But I think the main reason this even got off the runway is because of race. He is a white man, and she immediately trusted him to allow this to happen. and she continually stayed with him despite him draining her of her finances because of the proximity to whiteness was basically chasing. So that's why I say race has a big part to do with it, because if this was a black man, it would not have gotten this far. It would have not even, no, it wouldn't even left the building. She would have been like, please. As I was listening to the story, because at first I was like, 27 episode, absolutely not. I'm not watching all that. But when I saw a recap episode, a recap that another creator did, it was like 3 minutes long. I was aghast. I was just like, what is this? And I end up watching the stories because I was beside myself, y'all. I was beside myself. How you're actively participating in your financial demise, knowingly and willingly, because you like this man that much, because you love this man that much, because this man is your husband. Like, all of those things were more important to her than actually sitting down and having common sense, sitting down and being logical, sitting down and actually sitting back to say, like, hold up, wait a minute. And this is not an ex-boyfriend. This is an ex-husband. And that's important to the story. The fact that he's a white man is important to the story. And that's basically what you should know. 2022, she goes on vacation with her homegirl to Croatia. They're at some bar, and then she sees her ex-husband, Martin, from across the way, and she is smitten. It's love at first sight. She literally falls in love with him right then and there. So he ends up approaching her, and the friend too comes, and they're all chit-chatting and, getting rounds of drinks and stuff, and she's like in awe of this man. And I think that he clocks that the first moment they met, and she was his mark. He could have sensed the desperation in her when they were talking and meeting, because a lot of the things she said in her story time were very pick me. She was like, I'll cook for the right man and I'll do this for the right man. And it was just like, no, you don't do anything for a man. You exist and then they come to you. She's a very successful woman. She's a realtor and she is an accountant. So she's telling them, they're having small talk, and he basically aggressively pursues her throughout the vacation because he's like, I want to get to know you. What's your Instagram? And they start DMing each other. She goes on different excursions with her friends and, different restaurants, and she's posting those pictures on Instagram, and he's heart-liking everything, heart-liking all her stories. And she is just like, oh my God. And she's smitten by this man. And eventually they have like a month relationship. She calls it a long distance relationship. They met 2 weeks ago. He's messaging her like, this is the best photo I've ever seen in my entire life. You're the most beautiful one I've ever seen in my entire life. And he's like, I really want to fly you out in Monaco. So a month after they meet, that month they're talking over DM on Instagram. He's like, I really like you and all this stuff. And she's like, I like you too. And she's like, let's FaceTime. He's like, absolutely not. The man is telling you that he cannot FaceTime with you. It's because he is married or has a girlfriend. He is running for the law or in prison, or he is not who he says he is, a whole catfish. I just don't understand why that wasn't a red flag at first. But she's very young. She's in her mid-20s and she's never been in a relationship. So you know what? We all have been there where we like someone so much that we kind of take it for what they say and how it is, and we don't really question anything. So she's just like, okay, because after he says like, I can't, he's like, I really want to take you on a vacation. So he's like, I'm going to take care of the hotel and the flights and everything. You don't need to worry about a damn thing, but I need your passport photo. She sent it to him. She sent him a photo of her passport, a man she met like 3 weeks ago. Why are you giving this strange man, your passport? Anyway, she does give it to him, and he does book flights and he does book the hotel. So this is where he kind of got her, because for this first trip, he books a $2,000 a night suite. He pays for the flights, and he's like, let's go shopping, luxury shopping at that. So he brings her to like Chanel and Dior and Gucci and D&G. And she says in the video that she didn't want him to think she was after him for his money. So she opted out of getting anything that was super expensive. And instead she got a pair of $200 Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses. Like, I can't. If a man's telling me shop till you drop, give me the card, I will see you at home. That's the choice she made. She wanted the sunglasses. She gets the sunglasses, and they continue on their, their getaway in Monaco. It wasn't Monaco, it was Croatia, but it doesn't matter. Like, they just always overseas and jumping like from country to country. She was the one paying for all these trips. Early on in all of this, she ends up telling him she loves him. She says, I love you, after like a month of knowing each other. And he responds to her in that moment, I can't say it to you now, but I have really strong feelings for you. So while they are together and they are having their alone time, they're talking about themselves and their background and what they do and where they're from and who their friends are and what color they like and all these things. And he ends up telling her that he's Danish royalty, that he won two Olympic medals, that he works in crypto and real estate, and that he's a multi-millionaire. And he comes from a royal family that is worth millions and trillions of dollars. And she just goes, wow, that's cool. Question, what would you do if someone told you that? What would you do? I think collectively we all have the same answer. Google is free. She just took him for his word and ran with it. I think she didn't want to Google it. I think she was happy with this prince because he's from royalty. And it's literally probably a fantasy that she has had her entire life, because this is her first relationship. I mean, they're not dating at this point, but she's just so in love with this man that she's just like, wow, that's cool. But that was her biggest mistake, is just like she didn't do her background check. He tells her that he also works for like a marketing agency for the real estate company, and he makes about $400,000 a year. I would have been like, in USD or in krone. Like there's two different things. Those are two different tax brackets. So she just takes him for his word about all these things that he's telling her, and she's just like, she's running with it, which blows my mind. But at one point he takes her on a date and they go to a restaurant. So she's eating, and the way she's saying this story is super scary because she's smiling as she's saying it. But she's eating at the restaurant with him, and she goes to the bathroom and she passes out on her way to the bathroom. And then she wakes up like 10-15 minutes later, and she's in a pool of water, and then she sees Martin, the ex-husband, standing over her. So she's like, what happened? And he's like, do you have epilepsy? And she's like, I don't think so. And he's like, wow, because you just passed out and you fell. She's also like in this pool of water, and she's just like, what is this? Or liquid. And it ends up being her pee, her urine. So Martin, her ex-husband, calls the ambulance so they can take her to the hospital. And while she's going into the emergency room, they say he can't go because he's not part of the family. It's literally straight out of a movie. It's straight out of a movie, because he's there by her side and he's just like, I'm so glad that you're okay. And I wanted to tell you one thing too. I love you too. And she's just like, oh my God. And scene. The one thing I have to say about that specific date that I hope she's thinking about is that they were sitting at a table, eating and drinking. She goes to the bathroom and suddenly passes out from a seizure, that she's never had seizures in her life. And he's telling her, does she have epilepsy? Like, he's telling her, you might have epilepsy. And she's all confusion. I'm just saying, they were sitting at a table, eating and drinking something. And then she passed out on her way to the bathroom. I'm just saying. I really think that he orchestrated that whole thing. I think that's part of the scam. I really, really do. He thinks nothing of it. It might not be anything, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So she's back in Texas and he is home in Denmark because he lives there. And basically they're talking back and forth and having their long distance relationship over the phone, and I hope through FaceTime. Now Martin, turns it up a notch, and he starts talking about their future together and how he wants to marry her one day. What he was doing, he was again emotionally manipulating her, giving her false hope, promise that they would be together for the long run. This is where it begins. This is where it starts, because he tells her, I own 3 apartments in this complex and I really want to buy the complex. He proceeds to tell her, but he can't, because it's going to drain his cash, because he was tied to stocks and crypto, that she's just like, I want to help you out. And she told him that she wanted to help him out financially in this whole crypto stocks are tied up dilemma, so he can buy the complex, is because she wants to be there for him. And she wants to show him that she's not there for his money. At this point, they're in a relationship. Big reason why she felt so compelled to want to help him, because they're already thinking about their future together. So if he was going to be my future husband, I would want to help my boyfriend out, because you are going to be your wife one day. The way he got her, they had plans for him to fly from Denmark to Texas for the first time, so he can meet her family and friends and everything. He tells her, I can't come because my money is tied up in this whole apartment complex situation. And I think she desperately wanted him to come so bad that she paid and gave him the money to resolve that issue. This is where I'm like, girl, please. She was paying him to be in a relationship with her over 3 years. So this man flies to Dallas because now, everything worked out. Thank you for the money. And then he meets her family, her friends, her parents, her brother. She is so excited that he's seamlessly fitting in her, essentially her Nigerian culture, because he is a white man. So, can you dig it? The parents love him. The siblings love him. Anyway, they're talking. They're all at someone's house. This is where he mentions that he went to the Olympics twice and that he has 2 medals, a gold and a bronze. And he's telling this story to her brother, in her parents' house. She says she heard him say that, and they just go, wow, that's cool. I do not understand. If a royal had won 2 Olympic gold medals, wouldn't you want to Google that to check it out, see what's up? They don't ask him anything. They do not ask follow-up questions whatsoever. Later on in this story, not even near this part of the story, but later on, she does ask him, where is his Olympic medals? And he says that he donated 1 to charity and he gave the gold medal to his mom. Be so for real, girl. Be so for real. You don't Google the royal title. I would have been like, how much are we worth? I met someone and they told me they were a royal Olympian. I would be like, show me receipts. Show me the receipt. If you were a real Olympian, which he was not, you would, if you were standing on that podium, you would have so much pride and your national flag is waving behind you. It would have been in a glass case. But no, she doesn't ask any follow-up questions until years later. And she is over the moon. And you know what? A lot of women, girls get like that. When you're in a new relationship, you guys do talk about the future. That's not the thing. One big theme throughout the Danish deception, or the Danish delusion, is that every time he was going to ask for money, something bad happened. Something bad happened. So he would call her and he would be like, they were supposed to see each other. And then he's like, oh my God, I can't come again because there's foundation issues at the apartment complex and I need 200 grand to fix it. He's like, I'm going to ask my father, the king. And she's just like, okay, great. And then he comes back to her. He's like, he doesn't want to help me. He's so mad that, I'm not doing what he wants to do. And I want to help you with this situation. And she gives him the money and she rationalizes it while she's saying in the video. She's like, I already paid off my student loan. I bought my house. I paid up my car. So I didn't really need anything. I didn't really need the money. And if my boyfriend needed it, then that's what I was going to do, help him out, because this was so important to him. And it was an investment for us in our future, because that's what he told her. He said that this apartment complex is an investment for us, because I'm thinking about the future. And she just ate that up. She was eating it up. Now that she helped him with the apartment complex, they are going to Paris, I think at this point. Trips were insane. When she was, every time, in every video, there's 27, there was a trip that they went on. Even towards the end, when she was realizing that she was in serious debt, they would still go on vacation. And he's like, I'll pay for the trip and everything. And then he says all of a sudden, my money's tied up because of the IRS. Because I want to transfer my money in Denmark from my business account and my personal account to the United States. And the IRS intersects with that transaction to take out taxes. So he doesn't have money right now and it's all tied up. That alone should have raised an alarm. The IRS has nothing to do with transfers or wire transfer or anything. It goes bank to bank. They already have this trip to Paris that they want to go on, and she offers to take care of the whole trip. She pays for the flights, she pays for the hotel, they use her credit card throughout the vacation. He is just, enjoying Paris, saying that his money's tied up and he doesn't have the money and all this thing, so he doesn't know if he can move to Texas because they were talking about him moving there, and he's like, I don't know if I can move anymore. Again, using emotional manipulation, using himself and the love she has for him, because she said I love you like in 2 weeks, that she has for him, in using that as the tactic for the scam. So she's freaking out and she's like, we're trying to start a family together. We're trying to start a life together. You have to come to Texas because he needs $6,000 before he can even think about the future. And she's like, I'll give you the money. She gives him $6,000. She just gave him money for the foundation issue. Now that everything is resolved, he can come to Texas and they can start thinking and planning about their future. He goes to Texas and they go to Nigeria, where she's from. Her parents are Nigerian. He gets along with everybody. Everyone within the village loves him. The parents love him. Starts dancing to Afro beats, and she's just like, oh my God, weak in the knees, because now she's like, this white boy can get down with my culture. So this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. During the Nigeria period, he is like, let's go ring shopping. So they go ring shopping. I think they had known each other at this point like for 4 months or something like that. But they go ring shopping. And again, she's like, oh my God, like she's getting the fantasy that she's always wanted. And that's why I blame her, but I don't blame her. Because, you're in your first relationship. You're with a guy that you think looks like a Calvin Klein model. I disagree. Very much disagree. He's playing his cards right. Oh, and when he left to go from Texas to go back to Denmark before they went to Paris, I know. She said she was severely depressed. Like she couldn't get out of bed. She had, events to go to and she didn't go. She she was beside herself. She said she was hysterical, crying for days, slowly but surely progressing to the point of marriage. And marriage is a big part of this story because he is not a U.S. citizen. He is not from here. He needs a visa and a green card. Yeah. He drops that little nugget and then he leaves it. He goes back to Denmark and he calls her because they're supposed to meet up again in another country. And he's telling her, oh my God, I just had back surgery and I have a herniated disc. I can't come. She's like, I want to be with you. You are my boyfriend and I want to take care of you and I'm coming to Denmark. He's like, no need. But he counter offers with Paris and they meet in Paris like 3 days later. I do not understand why that wasn't another red flag. He just had back surgery 3 days ago. How are bells not going off at this point? Like you see what I'm saying? There's so many red flags. He can't travel for 4 to 6 weeks minimum. I don't understand this because she seems like she's an accomplished, smart woman on paper. But it's like the love that she had or limerence, I would say, that she had for this man just overrode all common sense and logic. And I think she just chose not to look into it and chose to believe him. And again, she pays for this trip as well. After the trip, I think they go their separate ways. Guess what? Another emergency. He had another worst day of his life. Tells her that the apartment complex is flooding and he needs $50K. And she's like, that's a lot of money. And then he kind of brings it down to $6K or $5K, and she gives him the $5K. Because he says there's flooding in the apartment. He needs a generator. He needs to fix the situation before they could see each other again. And she gives him the $5K. Just gives him the $5K. Then he's saying his partner in all of this is being mad shady. And he wants to buy him out so he can be done with him. Guess where he got the money from? Absolutely not. And her reasoning, she wanted to be selfless because they're a we now. You know, love is a drug, but it's limerence in this case. But I think that she was just so, you know, drawn to this man that she did not want to let this fantasy go. And I think a big part of that has to do with her being black and growing up in white spaces and not being chosen. So the fact that this, to her, this gorgeous, blue-eyed, 6'3", blonde hair, looks like a Calvin Klein model, steps out and he chooses to talk to her on that trip. He chooses to continue a relationship with her. I think, and again, this was her first relationship. So I think this was her feeling someone is into me and someone I see as beautiful and Adonis likes me, loves me, is there for me. And she started off this story with this 6'3", blonde hair, blue-eyed, chiseled guy who looks like a Calvin Klein model. I kind of understood where this was going. For me, as a black woman that grew up in white spaces, that's exactly what I think was happening. I had felt that at one point in my life when I was like in high school, where, you know, I was the only black girl in my school at that point. No, there was another girl, Tiffany. But we didn't speak. It was like other black girl versus other black girl. I grew up in a predominantly white school. My parents put us in white school because my zone school at the time was extremely violent and they didn't want anything to happen to me. And they really thought that putting me in a Catholic school, we're not even Catholic, would be better for me to excel in life. Black girls that grew up in white spaces, we are conditioned to shrink ourselves. You have to outperform because then you're going to be seen as lazy. We downplay our instincts or how we react to things because we don't want to be seen as too difficult. Really dictates how you move in the world. And this is all black people. We learn how to live in discomfort, basically, because won't start nothing, won't be nothing. So it's just like, I'm going to be a fly on the wall. I'm hyper visible and invisible at the same time. And she, you know, people went on her Instagram and they were looking at all her pictures. Her whole friend group are white women. I think if she had a black friend or friend of color, they would have smacked some sense into her. But she needs better people. A lot of black women clock this from the beginning. And we, not me, but we black women have been in her comments, and she's saying that the most hate she's getting is from black women. Black women just see the world so uniquely than any other race or gender.
It might not be your intention, but when you're blaming race, you're actually minimizing the fraud and the actual damage that was caused by the scam. So we're on the topic of race. I'm not gonna lie, guys, the most hateful messages I've been seeing are coming from black women, and that's actually really surprising to me because I thought we were here to protect each other and lift each other's voices. So what's going on?
She thinks the black women are the harshest on her. It's very telling to me, to be honest. She's not coming at the white women who are saying the same thing. A lot of the white women feel the same that we do, but she's not coming for them. She's like giving a little like explanation to them versus she's blocking black women, which is her right. Onyanka, she wanted to hold on to this so much. Some women reached out to her to let them know what, you know, about this and kind of warn her, and she blocked them. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear it. No, you're going to ruin my fantasy. No, shh. Yes, she's traveling to all these places, but she's still confined in a bubble. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I went to school in Brooklyn, New York. I went to college at NYU in Manhattan. I live in New York. New York is so diverse. You have to be tough. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that have made me who I am today, where before I went to college and actually stepped out of the safety of my parents, my Haitian parents, which I wasn't allowed to do anything. Black girls aren't allowed to date. We're not to do this. I went to Central Park one time and I got in trouble. They were like, where are you? And our parents, especially when they come to the United States, they're coming for opportunity and for a better life for their family. So they want to protect their children at all costs. So it's not like they didn't want me to go to Central Park, or the parties or sleepovers because they were being mean or unreasonable. It's because they want to protect their children from whiteness. So you can benefit from whiteness. Going to white school opened a lot of doors for me. We had a lot of great friends that we did end up making. My parents made friends with like 2 parents throughout my whole 1st to 8th grade. 2 parents. That's it. Those are the only people that would talk to my parents. And they would watch me and my siblings after school because my parents had both had 2 jobs, and we had nowhere to go because after school, like, it was still, my parents were still at work. So these people who I'm friends with, my friends to this day, it's been like 38 years I've known them since I was a child, and they always made me feel like those are my girls. But what on Yanka's people, like, you need to do better. I went to an all-girls Catholic school. There were other all-boys school within the area and also just within the city. So like boys from like Xavier, Xaverian would come to my school and pick up girls and, you know, do all the things. No one ever looked for me, you know, and I did feel a type of way growing up, but I had my parents tell me over and over and over again during my childhood, but my parents refused to let that shape me in any way. They literally sat me down over the years and drilled it in me. They poured worth into me when I was feeling super invisible. It's because of my parents that I did not fall apart in a world where I was always the background character. I ended up becoming the star of my own show. And again, because I grew up in Brooklyn, you can just clock things from a mile away. You know, I have the street smarts and then I have the book smarts. And I think Onyenka doesn't have the street smarts. And from what I gather from her storytelling, her parents really wanted the proximity to whiteness. I think if she brought home a black man or a Nigerian man, they wouldn't have been so happy about it. My parents taught me how to read people, how to move in a crowd, how to clock something, you know, sus from a mile away. They taught me to trust my instincts because the gaslighting when I was in school from 1 to 12 was insane. And I always felt like, because they would always tell me you're not, even my teachers, there were adults that would tell me I'm worth nothing, like from 1 to 12. And if I didn't have my parents, I would have believed that for my whole life. And that's where I'm like, Onyanka deserves grace, because I think the way she grew up and where she grew up has a big to do as to why this happened to her. So it's essentially not her fault. She's the victim, you know? But at the same time, there are some things that just common sense, and especially she's an accountant and a real estate agent. Your whole job is to verify information. And your whole job is to know how finances work. And she, just with that part alone, should have been enough for her to not be in this situation. Every other day, he got the worst news of his life. Something happened. She gave him money. Something happened. She gave him money. Something happened. She gave him money. And it was usually around the time where he was supposed to go see her. So he used her emotional connection to him to tell her that he's had the worst day and he really needs bread. And she would give it to him. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I could see you now. Anytime they had a vacation that he was the one leading, that like she would choose a place and then he would choose a place, and it was him, and he would be like, I got the flights, I got the hotels. So throughout the story, she's saying like, this is okay because yeah, I gave him $15,000, but it's because he paid for the flights and the hotels for 2 places. Sis, he used your money that you given him to pay for the flight and the hotel in those 2 places. They get married at the courthouse. Yes, they got married. He was like, I'm broke. I don't have money for a ring. Do you still love me? And she's like, I don't care if you have you don't have a dime to your name. I will always love you. And he's like, great, let's get married in the, at the courthouse. And one day I'm going to give you the wedding of your dreams. And she's just like, oh my God, I love it. And there's a picture that I saw of her like going like this. Like she had a whole thing in the knot. A whole, she was submitting those photos to all interracial relationships, Instagrams and TikTok. She meets his parents and she goes to his childhood home after he's basically been saying like, I don't want you to go there alone without me for like so long. I don't know how long it is at this point, but she meets his parents and they're living in like a traditional home. And she's like, are you guys royalty? And they seriously asked them that question and they were looking at her like confusion. What do you mean, are we royalty? This is a 2-story 4-bedroom house. Again, she rationalizes it and she's like, I know a lot of billionaires. I don't know any billionaires, but I know a lot of billionaires who drive Honda Civics. Where? And if anything, if a billionaire is humble, like wearing, just a Gap t-shirt and some Nike Tech pants, if you go to their house, that's where you would see their wealth. I'm sorry, like even that whole thing should have been a sign. Tells her about the whole apartment complex. Like after they get married, wants to change his address from his place in Denmark to the United States. She literally said, she asked him, is this tax evasion? And he said no. And she said, okay, cool. This man got her to quit her job, quit her accounting jobs, because they were like in Portugal or something, and the time difference from the United States from Portugal, or where she was, the country she was just draining her, because she was working like nights and they were excursions in the mornings and the afternoons. So he told her, quit your job and I'm going to take care of us. Mind you, did he take care of anything this whole time? He still owes you money. She understands she's in debt at this point. She's like, it's piling up, and da-da-da-da. And then she still continued with all of this. She walks away from $150,000 a year job because he makes $400,000. I still don't know if it's USD. Has not confirmed anything. She's just going by his word. And I think, again, it has a lot to do because he's a white man. She just trusts him. Like, again, if it was a black man or a brown man, she would have questions. While they're in Denmark, when she sees the family house, a friend of his tells her that he has a gambling addiction. He's had this addiction for 10 years and he's gone to get help for it. He hasn't relapsed. What does she do? She gives him her credit card. And then she sees there's a $7,000 cash advance. And she goes to him and she has questions. And he's like, I don't like your tone. Even though he took 7 bands, she's still wedding dress shopping because they're going to have their, fairy tale wedding with all their family and friends. She's still trying wedding dresses at this point. She's still with her friend, going to shops and, having champagne and doing all that stuff. Whilst this man owes her hundreds of thousands of dollars, she confronts him about it and he's just like, again, leave me alone. Like this is a we. And she still continues to plan this wedding. She is aware that he just did something so diabolical that she refuses to even acknowledge it and kind of lets it go. He starts acting brand new when she starts to wake up. She switches it up because she finds out like he owes, I think it's her mom, like $10,000, and he keeps saying like, I sent it. And he's showing her screenshots of the confirmation page, but he was altering the confirmation page, cutting out the bottom where it says the transaction is complete. So he never sent any money and he was trying to play in her face. And she finally was just like, that's not what I see on my phone. At this point, the jig is up. It's 3 years later. And I think he realizes that I cannot do this anymore. He starts picking arguments with her. He starts fights with her. And she basically is like, we can work on this together. And she keeps telling him and chasing him and texting him and being like, I love you. We can figure this out. But for him, he's done with the marriage. This is the part that's just like ironic, is that he asks her for the divorce. He leaves her. If he did not leave her, she would have stayed. and this would have continued. And during all of this, he basically told her not to talk to anybody. He was isolating her, another tactic from her family and friends. So when he asked for the divorce, she goes to her family and friends and she comes clean. And then they start telling her, oh, wow, I lent him money, like 10 people. He took $3,000 from her sister because he told her that he wanted to buy Onyanka a present for their wedding in Nigeria. The sister gave it to him. He took like $20,000 from a friend of hers and his pregnant wife who were about to move into their new house. For like 2 people he borrowed money from, I don't know the exact number, but he tells them that he needs it. One person, he says, I need it for an Aston Martin because I want to gift that to Onyanka. And the other one, he says he needs it for a Ferrari because he wants to gift it to Onyanka. A Aston Martin and a Ferrari, and these people gave him thousands of dollars for a car, a machine, une voiture. Me paga. He took money from her parents, took money from another friend of hers that she went to actually ask and really talk to him about his relationship with her ex-husband. So pissed when she calls him. He's just like, basically like, what do you want? Over time, I guess he realized it was a scam. And when Onyanka's like, why didn't you say anything? And he's like, I didn't say anything because you're Nigerian, the scammy capital of the world, and I thought you were in on it. Lord Jesus. All these friends and family that he took money from, they're better than me. Why are you not talking to your friend or your family member to be like, this man just asked me for $20,000. Did he ask you for anything? I would have gone to Onyanka and be like, what the fuck? And no one said a damn thing to one another. No one said anything. Everyone, he has to be a master scammer for everyone to keep this to themselves. This is one of the craziest things. He leaves her, clears out the house, like she gets home and everything's gone. And he goes to the airport and he calls her and she's like, I have your passport. She took his passport so he wouldn't leave. After all of this, she stole his passport so he wouldn't fly away. Desperation's too much. Women who are desperate for love are always taken advantage of. And again, it could be monetary, it could be your energy, it could be your time, it could be your body. That is literally the gist of it. I know this is a long video, but that's the gist of it. And again, like, I felt so sick to my stomach when I was listening to this story. I felt so ill. I had to take breaks multiple times, and I honestly didn't finish all 27. I end up getting recaps from other creators that like condense it down to like a minute or two because I just physically couldn't do it. I was getting so angry. And throughout the videos, she's like, and I knew that was a red flag, and I knew that was a red flag, and it just was driving me insane. And I feel bad for her. I really, really do. But at one point, you have to take accountability and realize that you actively participated in your financial debt. And not just yours. Your loved ones, your family and your friends lost, again, collectively upward of $300,000, maybe $500,000. And no one said anything to one another. Is wild to me. Man can't drain you financially unless he has you emotionally. So he did everything right, step by step. This was a long con, 3 years. He did the initial like, oh my God, you're so cute. You're so pretty. You're the hottest woman I've ever seen in the world. He's like, oh my God, let's go on our first vacation. I can see a future with us. Onyanka was on The Bachelor. She was on Colton's season. And Colton ended up coming out as gay. I never watched The Bachelor. Actually, I did. I watched Rachel's season. Part of me is thinking that she really thought she was on the show where she's going to hang out with this man and get to know him for a few weeks and then they're going to get married, because that's exactly what happened. Even though they're divorced, she is legally responsible for this man. She's legally tied to this man. She sponsored him for his green card. She probably filled out an affidavit of support where she is responsible for him in the United States. And immigration doesn't care about a divorce or a breakup. Basically telling the US government, I am legally responsible for this person, so they are not a public burden to the United States government. The only way that she can get out of it is if he works in the United States for like 10 years, if he leaves the United States, if he becomes a US citizen, or if he dies or she dies. Like, those are the only 5 choices. If he ever falls on hard times, which he probably would, because this man is scamming every woman that is crossing his path, and he had 34 cents in his savings account, which she saw and she chose to ignore it. If he applies for certain benefits, federal benefits, she is responsible for reimbursing the government. What's even worse, he can sue her for financial support because he has that right according to the affidavit of support. Like, this is a whole mess. Him pushing for the green card, them getting married, him saying like, I'm gonna have a future with you. Like, this was all the plan. The rose-colored glasses, she ain't see shit. It's really sad. Like, not only did he emotionally play her for 3 years and she was eating it up as if it were truth, I feel bad for her. Even the whole royal family thing, before she found out that wasn't real, wouldn't you say, why do you need me to give you 250 bands? Aren't y'all millionaires? Don't you have like gold? And like, make it make sense. Not saying white men scam black women or white men are bad. I've dated white men. I've had 2 white boyfriends. The other one was Latino, dated black men, but we're not here about me. Unless you have the people around you, the support around you, and you do the work to break down internalized racism, you're always, as a black person, going to strive for proximity to whiteness as your ultimate goal. So she wanted her white husband to bring to her white friends to show them that I'm one of you guys. I belong now. Put him on a pedestal instantly and believed everything he said as if it were Bible. It is just so tragic because on paper, she's done everything. She's accomplished. She's an accomplished black woman in this country. And that is not an easy thing to do, especially at her young age. She's working in accounting. She's working in real estate. She paid for her own home. She had all this money saved to give to him. Traveling the world, which is a blessing. She's financially secure. Well, not anymore, but she was. She looked like someone that had their whole life in order, but low self-esteem will override logic every single time. On TikTok, which I think is another violation, the parasocial relationships today is really scary. The way that people attack other people in the comments, how vile they are, how mean they are. What happened to, if you don't have anything nice, don't say anything at all. Yeka's not an anomaly in all of this. A lot of women have gone through this situation. It's just unfortunate that this is how hers played. And I've been guilty of this in the past. They think love means giving. You want to cook your man dinner. You want to buy him new J's. Well, not J's, because in Haitian culture, never get them shoes because they'll walk out of your life. Man, my man, my man. You want to do all these things for your man. Women should not give at all. Anything we take. I'm praying for Onyeka. I hope she recovers from this. I hope she learns from this. I hope she reflects. She's still on TikTok right now. Like, put the phone away. Turn off social media for like 6 months. Go to Thailand or something and go heal. Think about what happened to you and why it happened to you. You lose nothing by choosing yourself. You lose everything when you prioritize someone that hasn't earned that position. But ooh, child, this whole thing is just a whole mess. But the moral of this story is, first of all, never trust anyone. Never trust a man that you just met. Never tell a man I love you after a week. A man who really wants to be with you, who likes you, who loves you, would never ask you for money. Never understand how she let it happen, but I understand why she let it happen, because she was so desperate for a man, a white man at that, that she chose to ignore all the red flags, and that's on her. So, booyah. But she's getting a lot of traction and views on social media from her series, at least on TikTok. So I hope she gets paid for this. And I hope she pays back the people that her ex-husband stole from with that money. Anyway, good night. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.